The space station Helix 9 floated quietly above a blue-green planet that was still being terraformed. From the outside, the station looked like a silver ring wrapped around a bright central tower. Ships from a dozen different worlds arrived and left every hour. Inside, thousands of students, scientists, and explorers lived and worked together. Humans were still a minority on the station, but their presence grew each year. Many alien species found humans strange, unpredictable, and sometimes a little too confident. But they also found humans interesting. Humanity had earned a reputation for creativity, stubbornness, and a strange kind of bravery that ignored danger until after danger passed. On this particular day, a lecture hall on level B79 was filled with students from many species. They had come to listen to Dr. Marcus Hale, a human xenobiologist known for explaining complicated topics in simple words. Marcus stood tall, with short dark hair and a calm face that rarely changed. He was the type who could talk for an hour and still look relaxed. Today's topic was differences in reproductive strategies across intelligent species. It sounded boring to most humans, but for aliens it was one of the most important subjects. Almost every species in the Galactic Academy reproduced in specific seasons or cycles. Some only reproduced during rare star alignments. Others needed special environmental signals. Reproduction was tied to tradition, culture, and even religion. So when Marcus explained Earth biology, many aliens listened with wide, curious eyes. Marcus tapped the display screen. "Humans," he said, "have no fixed breeding season. We can reproduce year-round. This is because—" He was cut off by a loud scoff from the third row. The sound came from Kiri of the Talaran, a young alien woman with sharp blue markings on her cheeks and bright, glowing eyes. Talarans were tall, elegant, and famous for two things: strict logic and a habit of interrupting everyone. Kiri was especially known for challenging teachers. She believed that every statement needed proof, and every claim had to survive debate. Kiri stood up, her voice echoing across the hall. "Humans cannot reproduce year-round. That is impossible," she said. "You are lying." The room went silent. A few humans exchanged glances. A group of scaled Draxori students whispered to each other. A floating orb-shaped creature pulsed with confused light. Marcus blinked slowly. "I assure you," he said in his calm voice, "it is not a lie. Humans evolved without a seasonal limit on reproduction." Kiri raised her hand sharply, not to ask a question but to challenge. "No species can sustain such behavior. It would cause population imbalance and biological exhaustion. Your claim contradicts all known models." Marcus tried again. "Earth has varied climates, unpredictable weather, and—" Kiri cut him off again. "Then your species should have gone extinct. Adaptation does not work that way. I demand proof. Real proof, not words." Marcus inhaled and exhaled slowly. He had dealt with difficult students before, but Kiri was special. The Talaran were brilliant but rigid, and they believed their evolutionary path was the most logical in the galaxy. A few human students started murmuring angrily. They whispered things like, "She thinks we're animals," and "Does she even know how humans work?" Meanwhile, several alien students were nodding along with Kiri. They found human biology suspicious, too. Many of them had grown up hearing stories about humans being chaotic life forms. Marcus raised a hand to calm the room. "Everyone, please. This is a scientific discussion, not a battle." But Kiri stepped forward with a dramatic sweep of her arm. "If you claim humans can reproduce at any time, then prove it. Demonstrate the biological evidence. Show the hormonal cycles. Show the data. Otherwise, your statement is false." Marcus stared at her. His face did not show anger, only mild frustration. "Kiri," he said, "the data exists. I can show it to you, but that requires time." She crossed her arms. "Show it now." A Draxori student let out a snickering hiss. A human student whispered, "She's impossible." Marcus looked around the room. The tension was rising, and he knew that if he handled this poorly, it could turn into a species-wide argument. He did not want humans to be seen as dishonest or arrogant, and he did not want Kiri to walk away believing untrue things about his people. So he straightened his back and said, "Fine. If you want proof, I will give you proof. Not just charts, not just textbooks. I will prepare a full scientific demonstration that explains exactly why humans evolved this way." Kiri tilted her head, eyes glowing brighter. "I accept your proposal," she said, "and I will bring expert witnesses. If your explanation has flaws, we will expose them." The lecture hall exploded into whispers and excitement. Marcus sighed. He had not expected his day to go like this, but once humans were challenged, they rarely backed down, and Marcus was a scientist. He lived for difficult questions. The class ended early. Students poured out of the room, forming heated debate groups in the hallways. Some were saying, "Humans are weird, of course they can do that." Others argued, "There is no way, human biology breaks all the rules." Helix 9 had seen many debates, but few promised to be this loud. Marcus gathered his tablet and notes. Before he left, Kiri approached him again. She stopped at a polite distance but spoke with firm conviction. "I do not wish to insult your species," she said. "But truth is important. If humans truly have such a capability, I must understand why. It changes everything we know about adaptation." Marcus gave a small smile. "I'm glad you care about the truth, but next time, maybe don't shout, 'You are lying,' in front of an entire lecture hall." Kiri blinked, confused. "Is that not the correct response when someone says something unbelievable?" "It depends on the culture," Marcus said. "Humans prefer a calmer tone." Kiri made a note on her datapad. "I will study this, but my challenge stands." Then she walked away, her long steps making her seem twice as determined as before. Marcus rubbed his eyes. He knew what he had to do now. He needed to create the clearest, simplest, strongest explanation of human reproductive biology ever presented in an alien classroom. And he needed to do it fast. As he exited the hall, 2 human students approached him. "Dr. Hale," one said, "are you really going to do a full presentation?" "With data and everything?" "I'll have to," Marcus replied. "If we want mutual understanding, humans need to explain themselves properly." The students nodded, impressed. But Marcus knew one thing very clearly. This wasn't just a small classroom argument anymore. The entire station was talking about it already. He could hear it through the hallways. Kiri's challenge had spread like wildfire. Some aliens were worried, some humans were annoyed, some species simply found it entertaining. And somewhere deep down, Marcus felt the first flicker of excitement. This was not just about proving a biological fact. This was a chance to show what made humans unique, and maybe even gain respect from species who saw humans as the strange newcomers. Helix 9 loved drama, and now Marcus was in the center of it. As he walked toward his lab, he thought, humans really can be strange. But sometimes being strange was humanity's greatest strength. Now he only had to prove it. The news of Kiri's challenge spread through Helix 9 much faster than Marcus expected. By the next morning, every hallway, every cafeteria table, and every study lounge was filled with students discussing the human biology controversy. Some were mocking humans, some were defending them, and many were simply excited that something dramatic was happening on an otherwise quiet week. The station had seen debates before, but they were usually calm, polite, and boring. This one, however, had energy. A Talaran student calling a human scientist a liar during a lecture. That was the kind of story that spread like wildfire. Marcus Hale felt the pressure immediately. He walked into his lab on level C22 carrying a stack of data pads. The human research team working with him, 3 assistants and 1 intern, stood up straight as he entered, waiting for instructions. "You've all heard the news, I assume," Marcus said, setting down the data pads. His intern, a young man named Jace, raised a hand. "Heard. Sir, half the station thinks humans are some kind of reckless animal species now." Another assistant shook her head. "Some aliens think we reproduce without stopping, like insects." Marcus sighed. "Yes, I've seen the messages. That's why we must prepare a clear, calm, and scientifically correct presentation. We need to explain how humans really work." Jace nodded. "And Kiri? She's forming some kind of panel against you." "I know," Marcus replied, "which is why we need to be ready." Meanwhile, on the opposite side of the station, Kiri was gathering her own group. Inside a large study room, 5 Talaran scholars sat around a long table with glowing data screens. They were known as the Cycle Council, experts in evolutionary biology, population management, and environmental adaptation. Kiri stood at the front, pointing at a chart that showed the reproductive cycles of more than 20 advanced species. "As you can see," she said, "all intelligent life forms evolve with natural reproductive limits. These limits maintain balance in ecosystems. Without harmony, no species can survive." One of the elder Talarans, Scholar Varn, nodded. "Correct. Seasonal constraints ensure population stability." Another added, "Humans claiming otherwise is shocking. If true, it challenges the standard evolutionary models." Kiri lifted her chin proudly. "Exactly. That is why Dr. Hale must prove his claim. Until then, human biological information cannot be trusted." The scholars murmured in agreement. But one younger Talaran, a quiet student named Relu, raised a hesitant hand. "Kiri," he said softly, What if humans really do not follow seasonal cycles? What if their world forced them to adapt differently?" Kiri blinked at him. "Relu, every world has cycles." Relu shook his head. "Not like ours. The human's planet rotates faster, tilts differently, and has strange weather patterns. They say their seasons are unpredictable." Kiri frowned but did not respond. Instead, she turned back toward her charts. Back in Marcus's lab, the human team worked quickly. They pulled old Earth studies, evolutionary charts, climate data, and genetic information. Marcus wanted every fact to be simple, clear, and impossible to misunderstand. "We're not trying to win a fight," he reminded them. "We're trying to teach. Kiri is not our enemy. She is a student trying to understand something alien to her." Jace snorted. "She called you a liar in front of 90 students." Marcus gave him a patient look. "Cultural miscommunication. Talarans value blunt honesty. If something sounds unbelievable, they say so directly." Another assistant raised her eyebrows. "So yelling at a teacher means I'm confused to them?" Marcus chuckled softly. "Roughly, yes." They worked all day, preparing diagrams and simple explanations. Marcus especially focused on the environmental reasons humans evolved without strict cycles, the chaotic climate, the long history of migration, the survival pressure from predators, the unpredictable food sources. "Earth forced us to be adaptable," Marcus said, more to himself than anyone else. "We did not choose it. We simply had no other option." Later that evening, the central auditorium of Helix 9 was reserved for the great debate. Holographic banners appeared in the hallways announcing the event. Human Biology versus Talaran Logic, a scientific demonstration. Some students showed up early just for good seats. Even teachers from other departments wanted to see what would happen. After all, it wasn't every day that 2 species questioned each other's fundamental biology. Inside the auditorium, a stage was divided into 2 sides. One side held Marcus and his human team. The other held Kiri and the Talaran panel. There were cameras, hovering drones, and even a few AI scribes recording every detail. The atmosphere felt like a mix of a university lecture and an intergalactic sports event. Marcus stepped onto the stage calmly, his datapad held like a shield. Kiri walked up on the opposite side, tall and confident, her glowing markings shimmering brighter than usual. She bowed respectfully, a Talaran gesture of acknowledging a worthy opponent. Marcus returned a small nod, the human equivalent. The hall quieted. The debate began. Marcus started with a simple introduction. He showed Earth from space, blue oceans, green continents, swirling storms, a planet full of life. This, he said, is where humans evolved. It is a world full of change. Seasons do not follow perfect patterns. Weather shifts quickly. Food sources rise and fall. Conditions vary widely across continents. A few aliens murmured in fascination. Marcus continued. Most intelligent species evolved in stable climates. Humans did not. So instead of relying on a seasonal cycle, our biology adapted to be flexible. We reproduce whenever conditions are safe enough, not when the environment demands it. He displayed graphs showing the human hormonal system, population changes, and adaptive mechanisms. Everything was clear, clean, and respectful. Then it was Kiri's turn. She stepped forward, her voice steady. Talarans evolved with strict cycles for a reason, she said. Excessive reproduction produces chaos. Ecosystems collapse. Populations starve. Too much freedom is dangerous. She showed the Talaran homeworld, a world with delicate seasonal patterns and fragile ecosystems. Harmony was necessary for survival. Our biology is logical, she explained. Our cycles protect us, so we question any species that claims to reject cycles. Her words were sharp, but they were not insulting. She was serious, not arrogant. The debate continued. Marcus explained how humans controlled population through culture, ethics, and planning rather than biology. Kiri argued that biological systems should be self-regulating. Marcus countered that humans evolved to take responsibility for their own survival. Kiri countered that this responsibility was a heavy burden. It was intense, but it was also strangely respectful. The two approached the subject from completely different angles, yet they listened to each other carefully. Students whispered, "This is amazing! Humans are so weird. Talarans are so strict. I didn't know Earth was like that." For the first time, many species realized that their differences were not mistakes. They were results of their worlds. About halfway through the debate, something unexpected happened. A large creature from the back row raised 3 of its arms. It looked like a giant moss-covered rock with glowing veins. It was a grantul, a species famous for slow movement and slower speech. "Excuse me," the grantul said in a deep, rumbling voice. "I have a question." The entire hall turned. The grantul continued, "Human reproduction is not season-based. Talaran reproduction is season-based. Both systems work. Why argue?" The hall blinked in silence. Marcus smiled. Kiri frowned, confused. The grantul slowly lifted 2 more arms. "Every species adapts to its home. Why is this surprising?" Marcus nodded. "Exactly. That is what I am trying to explain." Kiri looked thoughtful for the first time. Her eyes dimmed slightly. She turned to her own panel, whispering quietly. The older scholars murmured back. Something in her expression changed, not acceptance, but curiosity. The debate ended without a winner. Instead, it ended with something better: respect. The moderator announced, "Both sides have presented strong evidence. A joint research team will study the matter further." Marcus and Kiri bowed to each other again. No shouting, no anger, only professionalism. As students left the hall buzzing with excitement, Kiri approached Marcus privately. "Dr. Hale," she said, "your explanation was clearer than I expected. I still have questions, but I no longer think you are lying." Marcus smiled warmly. Good. Questions are fine. That's how science moves forward. Kiri nodded. Then I will continue to question you. Until I understand everything. Marcus chuckled. I look forward to it. The cultural showdown was over, but the adventure was only beginning. 2 days after the Great Debate, Helix 9 returned to its normal rhythm. Students hurried to classes, robots cleaned the hallways, and starships landed one after another. But for Marcus and Kiri, nothing felt normal. The debate had not ended their disagreement. Instead, it had created more questions, more discussions, and more curiosity across the station. Many aliens now wanted to see Earth, study humans, or compare their own biological systems. The Academy Council noticed the excitement and made a decision. They scheduled a joint field trip to the terraforming moon below the station, a place where small pieces of Earth-like environment mixed with alien ecosystems. The idea was simple. If students could observe how different species reacted to changing environments, maybe they would understand each other better. Marcus was chosen as the human representative. Kiri, of course, was selected as the Talaran representative. Neither seemed surprised. The shuttle ride to the moon was smooth and quiet. Marcus sat near the window, watching the planet-sized sphere below them. Clouds swirled over oceans and mountains still forming. The moon was half wild, half controlled, full of mixed climates and unpredictable weather. Kiri sat across from him with 2 datapads open, scanning geological maps and atmospheric readings. She always preferred knowing everything before she arrived anywhere. A group of students from different species sat farther back, whispering excitedly. Some were nervous. Some came only because they wanted to watch Marcus and Kiri argue again. The shuttle pilot, an older human with gray hair, looked back at them. "We land in 10 minutes," he said. "Everyone stay close to your assigned groups." Marcus nodded. Understood. Kiri didn't look up from her screen. "I have already memorized the safety instructions." Marcus smiled a little. "Of course you have." The shuttle touched down on a wide, grassy plain that stretched for miles. Huge mountains rose in the distance, and forests of red-leafed alien trees swayed in the wind. Streams of bright blue water flowed nearby, sparkling like liquid crystal. Several research domes stood near the landing site, glowing softly in the daylight. The group stepped out, taking their first breaths of the fresh, oxygen-rich air. Human students felt comfortable. Some alien students shivered from the unfamiliar temperature, while others stretched their limbs happily. Marcus looked around carefully. "Stay alert," he said. "This moon is safe, but the environment changes quickly." Kiri raised an eyebrow. "Changes? In what way?" "Sometimes the weather shifts. Sometimes the ground shifts. Sometimes the creatures shift," Marcus said casually. Kiri's eyes widened. "Shift? Creatures?" Marcus laughed lightly. "Not dangerous ones, mostly harmless." The Talaran representative was not reassured. The group's assignment was simple. Collect samples from 3 biomes, forest, rocky valley, and wetland, and observe how mixed ecosystems affected species behavior. For the first hour, everything went well. Marcus led the human students through a patch of tall grass. Kiri led her group toward the forest, still checking her datapad every 3 seconds. Marcus eventually walked beside her. "You're being extra cautious today," he said. "This place does not make sense," Kiri replied. "The climate map shows rapid temperature shifts. The land sensors show unstable ground, and the fauna trackers show creatures moving in unpredictable patterns." "That's the point," Marcus said. "It's a developing moon, still forming, still adjusting." Kiri frowned. "It reminds me of your planet." Marcus nodded. "Exactly." By midday, the sky darkened suddenly, as if someone had turned off a giant light. The wind changed direction. The students looked up nervously. Kiri stared at her datapad. This is wrong. There was no storm scheduled. Why is the atmosphere shifting so suddenly? Marcus felt a familiar feeling in his gut, the feeling Earth gave him right before trouble. "Everyone," he called out, "move toward the research dome!" But before anyone could take more than a few steps, the ground trembled. The students gasped as small cracks spread through the soil. Birds took off from the trees, screeching. Strange, four-legged creatures ran across the plain, fleeing something unseen. Marcus looked around sharply. "Kiri, get the students closer together." Kiri immediately raised her voice, powerful and commanding. "Form a single line! Stay close! Do not scatter!" Her clear orders kept panic from spreading. Another tremor hit, stronger this time. A ridge of earth cracked open in the distance, sending dust high into the air. Marcus's heart pounded. "Subsurface pressure pocket. The moon's crust must be shifting." Kiri stared at him. "Is this normal for humans?" "No," Marcus shouted. "But it reminds me of home." Before they could reach the dome, the ground beneath Marcus and Kiri broke apart. A deep crack opened suddenly, swallowing soil and rocks. Marcus grabbed onto a thick root, and Kiri grabbed onto Marcus's arm, pulling herself close. The ground gave way. Both of them fell. They tumbled down a steep underground tunnel formed by the collapse. Dirt, stones, and roots rushed past them like a chaotic slide. The tunnel twisted sharply, throwing them in different directions before they crashed onto a ledge. Everything went silent. Dust hung in the air like fog. Marcus groaned and pushed himself up. His head hurt, but nothing felt broken. "Kiri," he said, coughing, "are you okay?" A weak voice answered, "Yes, I believe so." She was lying a few feet away, brushing dust off her uniform. Her markings glowed faintly as she checked her limbs. "Nothing broken," she said, "but this is not acceptable. I prefer environments that do not try to swallow me." Marcus helped her stand. "Trust me, Earth did this kind of thing every few years. You get used to it." Kiri looked horrified. "Humans live in chaos." "Pretty much," Marcus said with a shrug. They examined their surroundings. They were inside an underground cavern, dimly lit by glowing crystal-like fungi. The walls shimmered with blue and green reflections. Strange insects crawled across the surfaces, harmless but unsettling. The tunnel they fell from was too high to climb back up. "We need to find another exit," Marcus said. Kiri nodded but looked worried. "Our communication devices are not working. There must be interference." Marcus tried his comlink. Only static answered. He sighed. "All right. Looks like we're on our own." Kiri took a deep breath. "Then, I must trust your experience. Humans survive chaotic environments, yes?" Marcus smiled. "All the time. Stick with me." They walked slowly through the cavern, studying the glowing mushrooms, shifting rock patterns, and small pools of mineral-rich water. Kiri examined everything carefully. "This place changes depending on heat and pressure. That is why the ecosystems above are unstable." "Exactly," Marcus said. "The moon is still young. It hasn't settled." Kiri paused. "Is this how Earth shaped human biology?" Marcus nodded. "In a way. When your environment changes without warning, your body learns to adapt. Humans adjust quickly. We plan. We survive." Kiri looked at him with new respect. "Your adaptability is remarkable." Marcus chuckled. "We call it making the best out of a bad situation." As they moved deeper, they heard a low growl echo from somewhere ahead. Kiri froze. "Was that a creature?" Marcus listened. "Yes, but probably not dangerous. Most animals here avoid humans." The growl came again, louder. Kiri whispered, "Your definition of safe is very different from mine." Marcus motioned for her to stay behind him. "Let's move carefully." They reached a large chamber where a massive lizard-like creature stood guard over a nest of eggs. Its scales glowed faintly, and its yellow eyes locked onto them. Marcus whispered urgently, "Back away slowly. We're too close to its nest." Kiri whispered back, "I am not comfortable with this situation." "Same," Marcus said. They took slow steps backward. The creature watched them, growling softly, but did not attack. When they finally reached the tunnel again, Kiri exhaled loudly. "I do not understand how humans remain calm in such situations." Marcus shrugged. "Earth had bigger animals." Kiri stared at him. "You are unbelievable." After another hour of careful walking, they finally found a narrow tunnel leading upward. It was steep, but climbable. Marcus helped Kiri up several times when the ground crumbled. She, in turn, used her long limbs to stabilize the climb whenever the tunnel twisted. They worked together smoothly, human creativity and Talaran precision. Finally, they reached the surface. Fresh air rushed into their lungs. The sky was clear again. The storm had passed. A rescue team ran toward them immediately. The students cheered. Everyone looked relieved. Kiri stood tall and composed, but her eyes flickered with something softer, understanding. Marcus smiled. "Told you humans adapt." Kiri nodded slowly. "Yes, I see it now. Your biology fits your world, and perhaps your world is more chaotic than we ever imagined." For the first time, she truly believed him. The field trip had gone wrong, but the truth had finally begun to take shape. The rescue team escorted Marcus and Kiri back to the main research dome. The students crowded around, asking questions non-stop. "What happened? Did you fight a monster? Did the ground really open under you?" Marcus answered calmly, trying to reassure everyone. Kiri answered too, though in her usual logical tone, which made even her explanations sound dramatic. "The ground did indeed collapse," she told one student. "The geological pressure shifted faster than predicted. Dr. Hale and I were forced to climb through unstable tunnels." "You mean you fell into a hole and crawled out?" another student asked. Kiri blinked. "Yes, that is exactly what happened." The human students laughed. The alien students looked shocked. To them, falling into the earth was one of the worst things imaginable. After the excitement settled, Marcus and Kiri were guided into a smaller briefing room inside the dome. The walls were lined with holo charts showing moon data, heat signatures, and creature movement patterns. A senior scientist, Dr. Reynolds, approached them. He was tall, with silver hair and glasses that always seemed to slide down his nose. "You two gave us quite a scare," he said. Marcus nodded. "We're fine. Just dusty." Kiri rubbed her arm. "I am also fine, but uncomfortable. My clothing has dirt inside every layer." Reynolds smiled. "That's part of field work. You both handled yourselves well." He tapped a console, showing a map of the collapsed region. These tremors weren't scheduled. Something unusual triggered them. Marcus leaned forward. "What do you mean, unusual?" Reynolds hesitated. "We think the moon's crust reacted to a temperature spike. A mix of human terraforming tech and alien flora caused a chain reaction. So the moon wasn't stable yet." That explained everything. Kiri stepped closer to the map. The unpredictable climate, the shifting land, the strange creature reactions. It all fits the pattern of early-stage planetary development. Reynolds nodded. "Exactly. And thanks to your experience down there, we now know which areas to avoid." Marcus rubbed the back of his neck. "Glad our accident was useful." Kiri added, "It was not an accident. It was a valuable scientific incident." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "That's one way to put it." Back on Helix 9 a day later, the entire station erupted with excitement. News of Marcus and Kiri's survival spread even faster than the original argument. Now, instead of whispering about biology, students whispered about their bravery. Some exaggerated the details. I heard they fought 3 giant lizards. They climbed a 10-mile tunnel with one hand. Kiri shielded Marcus from falling rocks. No, Marcus carried Kiri out. Kiri corrected every rumor she walked past. Marcus simply smiled and kept walking. The Academy Council called a meeting in the main auditorium. It was full again, just like during the debate. Holographic lights danced across the ceiling and floating camera drones circled silently. Marcus and Kiri were asked to stand on stage together. A council member stepped forward. She was a tall alien with shimmering purple skin and 4 gentle eyes. "We have gathered today," she announced, "to hear the final conclusion of the biological debate between Dr. Marcus Hale and student Kiri of the Talaran." The room grew quiet. Kiri stepped ahead first. She looked at the crowd, her glowing markings dim but steady. Her voice was calm, but serious. "I challenged Dr. Hale because his claim about human reproduction seemed impossible," she said. "To me and to many Talarans, the idea of year-round reproduction felt chaotic and dangerous." The audience listened closely. "But after witnessing human adaptability firsthand," Kiri continued, "I now understand something important. Humans do not have strict cycles because their world never allowed such stability. Their environment is unpredictable. Their climate shifts. Their land moves. Their weather changes without warning." Marcus watched her with quiet respect. Kiri held her datapad against her chest. "Humans survive by adapting quickly. Their biology reflects this. Their bodies adjust. Their cultures adjust. Their minds adjust. And even when the ground breaks beneath them—" She paused, glancing at Marcus. "They do not panic. They find a way to climb out." A wave of surprised murmurs spread across the room. Kiri bowed slightly to Marcus. "Therefore, I accept Dr. Hale's explanation as truthful." Marcus stepped forward gently. "Thank you, Kiri," he said. "Your questions were not wrong. Humans are unusual. But unusual does not mean illogical. It simply means we evolved for chaos, not for harmony." He looked out at the students. "Every species is shaped by its world. Some worlds give stability. Some give danger. Some give beauty. Earth gave us everything: storms, droughts, ice, fire, predators, unpredictable seasons, and constant change. So humans learned to live with change." He lifted his hand. "We are not strong because of muscle or size. We are strong because we survive what others avoid." That line hit the room like a wave. Even species that normally teased humans fell silent, absorbing the meaning. After the meeting, many students approached Marcus and Kiri with questions. Even teachers thanked them for giving the station such an important lesson. Later, Marcus and Kiri sat in a small garden area near one of the observation windows. Green plants from Earth mixed with purple flowers from Talaran. The stars shone bright. Kiri sat with her datapad resting on her lap. "Dr. Hale," she said softly, "may I ask one more question?" "Of course." "What does it feel like to come from a world that is never peaceful?" Marcus thought for a moment. "It feels normal. Humans don't think of Earth as dangerous. We think of it as home. Chaos is just part of the background." Kiri looked amazed. "Talarans train for seasonal discipline. We plan everything. We avoid danger. To us, chaos feels like failure." Marcus smiled gently. "To humans, chaos feels like a challenge." Kiri stared at him, processing the idea. It was clear she still didn't completely understand, but she wanted to. "Maybe," she said slowly, "that is why humans explore space so boldly." Marcus leaned back. "Maybe. Or maybe we're just curious." Kiri actually laughed, a short, sharp sound, but real. "Curious enough to fall into a hole and call it research." Marcus shrugged. "Hey, it worked." A week later, the Academy Council approved a new project, a joint human-Talaran research study on evolutionary flexibility across planets. Marcus was named the lead researcher. Kiri was assigned as his official partner. Together, they created detailed reports combining human adaptability with Talaran logic. Their papers spread across the galaxy. Many species began rethinking their assumptions about biology and survival. Helix 9 gained new respect for Earth and for humans. Students spoke proudly about the adaptable species. Teachers used humans as examples of evolutionary creativity. Even the Talaran scholars admitted that humans were not strange, only different. Kiri summed it up best during one of their later lectures. Standing beside Marcus, she said to the class, "Humans are annoying. They do not follow rules. They adapt too quickly. They change their plans without warning. They survive situations that should not be survivable." She paused, her markings glowing with a hint of humor. "But that is exactly why they thrive. That is humanity's strength, a strength we must study and understand." Marcus chuckled quietly beside her. The students applauded. For the first time, the debate was not about who was right or wrong. It was about learning, about respect, about understanding differences between species. And in the end, the entire station walked away with one lesson. Humanity's greatest power was not strength or intelligence or technology. It was adaptability, the ability to survive anything, even chaos. And that truth, proven the hard way, changed everything.